The Disaster Artist is directed by James Franco and also stars James Franco along with his brother Dave Franco and also Seth Rogen. This is the true story behind the scenes making of the arguably confirmed worst film of all time, otherwise known as The Room. This movie shows the backstory of the two lead actors known as Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, how they came to meet and how they ended up making one of the most controversial and most talked about movies in the history of film, like I said, called The Room. This was easily one of my most anticipated movies of the year. In fact, I'm going to say it maybe was my most anticipated movie of the year. I could not have been more excited for this. I am such a huge fan of The Room. I've watched it about 6 times. I think it's just a true wonder of a film, and I mean that honestly. It is a really special film. There is nothing else out there, and when I heard they were going to be making a behind the scenes kind of comedy about The Room, I couldn't have been more excited, and here it is. James Franco completely nails it as Tommy Wiseau. He literally falls into this character and he really sells it. He has all the mannerisms and all the little things that make Tommy Wiseau himself. And James Franco manages to take these little tidbits and use them in his own acting to make sure he portrays the best version of Tommy Wiseau, which is a pretty difficult task when you think about it. When you look at Tommy as a person, he's very much a one-of-a-kind kind of guy. Dave Franco is also brilliant as Greg Sestero, and he is a really great character in this movie, and the way that they actually play off of each other, him and Tommy, is really great, and it's really fantastic that they actually cast these two because they of course are brothers, so the fact that they already had that connection and that bond really helped with their development. It's a good job that James and Dave Franco have such good on-screen chemistry because they are the real heart of this film. These two are the two you're going to see all the time, and their work together is what you see on screen constantly. And they are so entertaining together, they work so well together, and you could genuinely believe that these guys are lifelong friends, or at least friends for a good amount of time. And you can really see the bond there, and I really like that because that is what this film is made up of. It's the backstory of these two friends. This is a real special movie made about a real special movie. If you are a fan of The Room, then you have to watch this film because all the little things that you see that are planted throughout the film, you get to see, if you're a fan of The Room, how these elements are actually transferred into the final film itself, and you see how all the seeds are planted and where the ideas come from. And this is such a satisfying thing to see on screen if you're a fan of The Room like you have been for years, like I have been. I really loved how this movie was filmed exactly the same way The Room was filmed, in the sense that a lot of the camera work is kind of shaky and kind of finicky because that is exactly what it was like when The Room was filmed, and this is perfectly encapsulating everything The Room stands for, and the way it is able to use these camera techniques to really replicate what was used in The Room is definitely an amazing feat for not only the camera work but also all the production team behind the film as well. I also have a lot of respect for this film because it is a truly heartfelt experience. You really get to see the backstory behind Tommy and Greg and how this movie was made, and that is one of the biggest questions regarding The Room. How did this movie get off the ground? And this movie shows that without going into too much detail and necessarily spoiling the mystery. And this is a really great way of doing it by paying homage to the original film and its characters, but also giving us insight to what this movie really was. Like I said, this movie is really heartfelt, really emotional, and kind of inspirational at times. And one thing I really respect the movie for is that it doesn't just take a laugh at The Room. It definitely has that within it because that's kind of unavoidable, but it doesn't just laugh at the movie, it actually shows how the movie became what it was today. And this is really difficult to say without spoilers, but the movie really goes deep, and it's actually a lot more emotional than you may first think, and I really respected the film for that. Overall, The Disaster Artist is, in one word, a masterpiece. This is easily the best film of 2017 in my opinion, and it is easily one of the best films I have ever seen in my life. I had an absolute blast with this film. I honestly cannot think of a single negative to go along with this film, and as a fan of The Room, as a real true fan of The Room, I couldn't have appreciated this movie more, and it is an absolute fan's dream come true. I give The Disaster Artist an A+.